Fortnite Chapter 6 is in its 4th season, including a mini-season, and in that time we followed Hope and Jones into the new island, the beginning of demons and portals, and so much more. Really important moments have taken place during Chapter 6, and in the center lies the 0 Point Shard since the very start. Today we take a look at the whole storyline in Fortnite Chapter 6, so quickly hit the like button and let me know what has been your favorite season this chapter. Chapter 6 Season 1 takes place after the Chapter 5 remix season, where the Looper leaves the Chapter 2 reality of Midas's crew to join Hope and Jones in their search for an ancient relic. And this ancient relic was revealed to be the 0 Point Shard that flew into Reality 783 at the very start of the chapter. Upon arriving, they meet the Spirit siblings, Jade, Kendo, and Daigo, who are all a family of demon hunters from generations in the making. Daigo, the eldest sibling, has ownership of his grandfather's Thousand Faces mask shop. However, the island is in danger with the 0 Point entering into the atmosphere, which reawakened the magic on the island, with sprites running around alongside portals to the spirit realm, which contain very terrifying demon warriors, have just opened. And Jade would become allies with the sprites to protect them from the demons, more specifically Shogun X, who was introduced in the first trailer as the main villain. Anyways, throughout the season, he begins to collect spirit energy, which could be used for absorbing anything he wants or a collection of some sort. At the same time, the Looper goes around on Inoshima, gathering intel on what these islanders know, and they stumble across two clans, the Fox Clan and the River Guard. Despite not getting along, even after the Looper brought them back together in Reality Zero, they remain uneasy allies, telling the Looper stories from many years ago, where demons, magic, and the masks of power invaded their realm. A war called the Shattering War, sparked by the River Guardians to put an end to the destruction of their home, finally bringing peace and safety to everyone. So next we have Kendo, a new ally of Hope and lover of the Kappa Kappa Pickle Factory, decides to join Hope's Demon Hunters team alongside his future battle partner Doberman. Together they face the leader and commander of the demons, Shogun X, and his lieutenant, the Night Rose, who at the time was a warrior controlled by the puppeteer and an Oni mask controlled by the power of Shogun X. But working alongside Kendo, the Looper discovers Daigo's workshop, finding an ancient and dark mask of power from a long time ago, which raises questions towards the team. Shortly after that, the demons put a curse on Jade, forcing Daigo to make the next move, utilizing a machine that traps and uses the power of sprites to create a mask of power that would protect her. This plan sadly backfires, dooming Jade to be trapped inside of the spirit realm. However, it gets even worse, because when visiting craters around Oninosshima, they learn that the demon warriors have captured the 0 Shard for themselves in the spirit realm, a place where typical mortals can't even enter into. So the only thing that remains are a few splinters of the shard, which is when Daigo and Hope's plan begins to take place. The Looper gains a massive success by defeating Shogun X's puppeteer mask, freeing the Night Rose from her bounds for good. So she decides to join the demon hunters in their battle, using the splinters of the shard that they found and create a blade of great power, which was actually given to the Night Rose. But suddenly the introduction to Godzilla takes place, an ancient titan who emerges, being the new threat on the island, destroying part of the Shining Span Bridge. So Monarch teams up with the demon hunters alongside King Kong, who all of a sudden is now showing up through rift portals. Hope and Nyanja learn about Godzilla's power, so they order the Looper to bring justice by conquering Godzilla. After succeeding in this mission, they gather the Godzilla medallion for themselves and save the island in the process, which takes us to Daigo and his emerging master plan, where he will use the masks that he owns fused with the magic that returned due to the 0 Shard in order to save his sister Jade from the spirit realm. And he didn't do this alone, because the Night Rose, who is now freed from Shogun X, tells her new allies that there is a darkness hidden inside the spirit realm that is manipulating everything and every demon from the shadows. So to help Daigo, she gives him the Splinter Blades. At the time, the Dark Presence hungers for the capturing of the Spirit siblings for an unknown goal, but one that scared everyone around them. Inevitably, Shogun X doesn't like the sound of Daigo's plan, so he decides to step onto the island for a final final showdown of the season. The pure power within both of these characters generates a giant form for the Mask Maker and the Demon Commander. It seems like Daigo is going to be defeated basically throughout the whole fight. However, he utilizes Shogun's distraction of thinking he's won to siphon the energy of the island and its people, striking him down with the blades, sending his essence back through the portal but killing him for good, and of course saving Jade. And now that she's freed, she warns Oninoshima about the future and the spirit realm. At the same time, gold starts emerging from the portal, which is when Jade starts to now worry about the future on the island and how this gold will cause chaos and mayhem around the island, which is then when the demons elect a brand new commander to continue Shogun's legacy. And just before the new season takes place, season 2, Midas returns into the storyline, heading over to the Kappa Kappa factory alongside Hope to see the birth of the Big Deal. He learns that his old friend Fletcher Kane has begun a business takeover on the island, starting a war between the outlaws and the alphas. We then meet Big Dill, Valentina, Keisha Cross, Joss, Skillet, and Cassidy Quinn. For the side story of the season, we see Big Dill teaming up with the Brat to form the Tasty Boys, a music duo for the fame and fortune. The outlaws are ecstatic as the legend himself, Midas, has not only joined their team, but the stories about him are really true. Cassidy would try her very best to impress Midas, while Skillet comes out of retirement to help the outlaws with their efforts. And the outlaws become a united group, such as Keisha and Cassidy becoming really good friends, taking explosives to Kane's vaults and using other items to sell in their black market in order to blow the vaults up. The overall goal was to drain Kane's fortune completely until he had nothing left. However, the outlaws requested help from the Looper. Skillet and Valentina break into Kane's personal vault. Joss helps Big Dill start a party at Crime City, all while failing to discover a scientific explanation for the golden takeover on the island. But Kane becomes annoyed by the outlaws, so he taxes the island 100%, doubling the cost of each service. This, however, only further increases the effectiveness of the black markets, which the outlaws considered a community good. Growing in fame, the outlaw king Midas gains a new title, the Golden Gunslinger, and out of the shadows, Montague appears, the former leader of the society, who speaks to Midas, asking if there's anything that he can assist him with. Midas tells him to lay low until he is needed. However, at the same time, Brutus also joins the reality, but to help Joss with her black market sales. So Midas began working on a plan. Teaming up with Big Dill, he devises a plan that will intentionally cause the Dill Bitcoin market to crash, leaving Kane with even less fortune, making Big Dill rich and famous. And working with the Looper, he discovers the effects of the 0-point shard across the island by analyzing residual energy signatures, leading them to Daigo's Thousand Faces shop. And it turns out the entire season, Daigo and Fletcher Kane had been working together the whole time. They both had these masks of power that allowed the powers of the Void Tiers for the Alpha Company in return for gold riches. And Kendo only just found out about this information, but he wasn't sure what to do. But it wasn't over quite yet, because Midas knew that Daigo was doing this from the very start, and managed to acquire a mask-making book that was left behind in the shop. So with Kane's empire completely collapsing, the end seemed inevitable. Keisha and Cassidy team up with the Looper to steal Kane's car, while Midas goes on a rampage against their soldiers. By hijacking Alpha's communications, they learn that Daigo had been ordering around the entire Alpha crew, making him somewhat of a leader. The Looper investigates Kane's hideout to find a new mask of power. So could Kane have had his own mask made by Daigo this whole time? Because of this, the Looper becomes worried, and to make things even worse, they discover his dark uses with the dark sprites in his lair, with sprites trapped in cages too. Maybe Daigo wasn't the hero they thought he was. The time had come with Kane protecting Daigo. He used his dark energies and the ancient mask of power that the Loop had previously found to enter into the spirit realm in order to defeat whatever was inside, which Jade had previously warned Daigo and the rest of us not to look for. And his fate was then sealed. The dark presence then corrupted him into the demon warrior that he is right now. But time works quite weirdly inside of the spirit realm, because at the same time as this took place, the Death Star arrived to Oninoshima, alongside the Galactic Empire and the Resistance, making this this a full-on Star Wars season. Working with the rebellion, they train in the light side of the Force, alongside the clone troopers to defeat the Galactic Empire soldiers and Darth Maul. Also, Darth Vader becomes a samurai by learning the art of samurai combat. He invaded Shogun Solitude, working with demon allies to secure the base and help run the Empire. Princess Leia, on the other hand, with the help of the Looper, discovers these plans of the Empire, and so they devise a plan of their own from the Resistance base. In order to survive, Jar Jar Binks boosts the morale of the clone troopers, but he was secretly a dark Sith Lord, apprentice of Emperor Palpatine. But it's not over yet, because the Looper managed to convince the Mandalorians the truth, and the alliance with the Mandalorians was to be the downfall of the Empire, joining the Resistance for good. They managed to disguise themselves to allow them to sneak on board to the Death Star. Their goal was to tamper with their systems, all while the Blue Leader's TIE Fighter Squadron blow up what they can. After being successful, they defeat a number of stormtroopers, but all of a sudden they are hit by a TIE Fighter, splitting Hope and Jones and all of us with him. Whilst all of us remain injured and confused where Hope went, Palpatine essentially corners us, and although it looks completely like it's over, we manage to defeat Palpatine with the help of Hope and her Rift to Go, which ultimately sends us out of the Death Star, making the spaceship completely explode. However, the impact of this explosion caused part of the ship to land on Oninoshima, and one chunk landed on the Spirit Realm portal, which pushes some demons out of the Spirit Realm, such as Daigo and Kor, back onto the island. But this wasn't the same Daigo, it's the corrupted version of him that is now completely purely evil. And as soon as this happens, an energy shockwave blasts across the island, hitting a group of students on the battle bus, and these students all gained powers from this explosion shockwave. But Superman unintentionally sees this chaos through a rift, so he decides to join the island in pursuit of defeating these demons. And in the prelude of the event, we find out that Oninoshima actually has a bubble around the island that was created by the 0 point. So maybe Daigo wants to break it open, or something else entirely different. Either way, Hope, Jones, and the Night Rose founded the Supernova Academy for these individuals that just gained these powers. But in order to fund it, they seek assistance from Midas and Shadow to make it a reality. However, they keep Midas's involvement a secret since he's not to be trusted. Meanwhile, Kor, who is sworn to the darkness for a price, unlike Daigo, who is completely corrupted, makes her home Shogun X's floating island. Anyways, the students of the academy include Morgan Mist, Haley Sky, Ziggy, Synthwave, Killswitch, Light Rider, Sienna Knight, Sonya, and much more heroes to come as the season progresses. Hope begins to have these visions once again, and in these visions she sees Morgan Mist, the Fortress of Solitude, and doom afoot. Robin, Starfire, Beast Boy, and Superman join the academy as legendary teachers or allies for the students, conquering demon warriors and assisting them in their superhero training. But despite this, Light Rider refuses to learn and appreciate the value in teamwork, continuing to be very prideful and arrogant of herself. Besides their flaws, the academy are still pretty good friends. At the same time, Jade tells the Looper that the sprites protected her during her time trapped in the Spirit Realm, but she's worried about them because she feels that the magical energies of the island has shifted. Going to investigate all of this, they discover that they've grown an attachment to Superman and that they are perfectly fine. Kendo, meanwhile, learns that Daigo is not himself because something dark in the Spirit Realm has taken over his mind. Determined now, as their main goal is to now free his brother from the darkness. However, through the prophecies, Hope wants Morgan Mist to boost her confidence and become a true leader for the team. They spy on Daigo and his troopers and begin to learn his master plans with the spires, finding out that they are sentient creatures that begin to blend the Spirit Realm with reality 783. Discovering fragments left behind from the Death Star, they deliver these fragments to Superman to study. Working and training together, they learn that the Academy's instructors are hiding something from them, finding out the truth about Shadow's involvement with the Academy, as well as an archway in Utopia City that the Looper determines is a gateway. They confront Hope and Midas about this, and Midas tells them that he's funding the Academy and the Vault, a project started by him and Hope in order to secure and lock away any Zero Shards for safekeeping once they have been collected, of course. Heading off to Hope, she doesn't completely trust Midas, but it's a risk that she's willing to take for the better good of of the island. Also, we learn through another reality, LEGO Expeditions, that some very valuable intel has come to surface. Hope has sent out Light Rider, Killswitch, and Morgan Mist to recruit and train students of the academy. Through these new students, Morgan gains confidence, and Light Rider starts to learn the true value of teamwork. However, the bad news is that the Mask Maker Daigo and his minions have teamed up with the Storm King and his army, ultimately a portion of the last reality. Midas calls the Looper once again, as Hope researches on the Spires was blacklisted from Midas and his crew because of his untrustworthy behavior. Getting the Looper and Skillet to help him, he sends them off to gather intel, but Skillet claims to halve the work between them. However, he doesn't do anything but playing possum, as he puts it. He tells the Looper to tell Midas that he was the one of gathering this intel and threaten them with hidden explosives if they don't. Agreeing to his demands, Midas is actually impressed and pleased with Skillet's skills, but even so, he knows that people don't trust him now, but he says in the end this is for a good thing. So that's where we're at, and considering this season is still very fresh, I'll wait until more information drops and cover this season's lore in another video. But if you enjoyed the video, smash the like button and of course subscribe if you're new. But 2 videos will show up on the screen if you want to watch more content around theories this season. I'll see you guys in the next one.